Good evening, everybody. It's 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast. It's time for your weekly Calamity Jane live stream. James, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well also.
Keeping on, man. That is the maybe my favorite turn of phrase. Cliche, idiom,
That
what
works.
have you, what will you? Um, keeping on.
That's good.
Yeah.
Gotta keep
So
it
moving
good.
forward, good and bad. The goal is to have
Good.
more good than bad.
Yeah,
So
so it's a good ratio. If you can have at least 60-40 good to bad, and the bad is not extreme, I think you're in good shape.
sometimes, man, I will take 51-49. So how about you? Hopefully above 51-49.
Yeah. Everything's great over on my end. Yeah, just doing our weekly check-in and just to get into business, I'll start working on the file a little bit. I'm gonna do a little bit of cleanup work because it's kind of messy right now. So
All right, I'm
it's kind of
ready.
boring watching me rename some layers and stuff, but I kind of like to do that to keep it tidy.
Well, it's a good opportunity to talk about naming conventions. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. Having a consistent naming convention is vitally important.
Yes, indeed.
I
So
I've worked on tons of video games where they didn't do the legwork to um, set a naming convention early on.
yeah,
And what ends up happening is variables become misnamed and impossible to track and identify.
good.
Audio files are like, I don't know what this is. I don't know where it goes. It's like a guy screaming. Like, what is this? What is this? Right?
Yeah. The beauty of because we're such a small team and there's only one animator on this team, I can name anything I want. So that part's good,
That's
but
true.
there is this thing in the back of my head where because I'm working on teams before, it's sort of just it gets into my OCD side of my
Oh, yeah.
OCD bug side of things where I want to kind of clean up. So I was looking at the file tonight before our stream. I was like, yeah, let me do a little bit of house cleaning first, even though I really don't need to because it's just me. But you're saying, it's just for best practices. And who
That's right.
knows? Maybe we'll have people help us later on, and
I
you know,
imagine we're gonna have 1,000 people working
a
on it. It's gonna be
gazillion people.
so
Yeah,
big. They're
yeah,
gonna have to like hire every animator in South Korea
yeah.
to do it for us.
Yeah.
Um,
So
uh,
all right, I'll go into share screen mode, and we
all
can
right,
just kind of pick up where we left off last week.
you should be clear. Yeah, I mean, in speak, expanding on the naming convention, I talk about it in games, but I'm doing sound design on a couple of plays,
Uh-huh.
and there's a naming convention, right? Like
What?
page
Really?
numbers, descriptors, because theater has cues. They have systems that cue a particular sound or cue a particular light, and you can preset these and program them through applications, programs.
Hmm.
And you know, as the sound designer, you're handing this off to a tech operator or a booth person or whoever who's putting it into the queue system. And if they don't know where it needs to be referenced in the script or what page it's on, then it can get lost. Um, and then it raises these questions, like I don't know what to do with the sound, or I don't know where to go. And if you don't have regular or easy contact with your you know all the different people in your team, then it'll be a problem. But if you agree upon a naming convention, you agree upon
Hmm.
a system, then it's relatively future proofed, right?
Yep. Hmm.
So there's a lot of flexibility that you can get away with. Do you want
Yes.
two layer tens?
Oh, thanks for being my extra eyes here.
Yeah, there you go. I've made that
No,
mistake as well, many, many a time.
I did not want two-layer tents. Thanks for that. My pen's in the way as I keep going. I'm just kind of going in autopilot. So I'm glad you
Yeah,
saw that. Um,
but so yeah,
yeah, but yeah, I'm all for. Yeah, it does help to have things kind of clean a little bit. It kind of gets chaotic. I can't remember where I put something on one layer or another. etc., etc. So yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. I try to do naming conventions just in my own work. And, when we were recording a lot of temp audio early on to help inform the animatics, we were really particular about all of the information that needed to be in the file name, the shorthand, that
Hmm.
defined things like the episode, what act the sound effect was in, which character was speaking it, etc., etc., etc. What the order was. Like we had a spreadsheet of dialogue, and in the file name, it referenced the cell in the spreadsheet that, or that not the cell necessarily, but the order that the sound played in, and then that correlated to the spreadsheet, right?
Hmm. Yep.
And doing that basically ensures a solid foundation that everybody is working from the same origin point, right? And
Hmm.
and it seems like a really dry topic, but I've seen like games in particular delayed by a week because people weren't adhering to the standards agreed upon, and they're like, what is this variable? Why is this variable doing this? Why is it causing a memory leak and crashing the game, right?
Hmm.
And then you have to track it down, and it's inevitably some programmer taking a shortcut, and it was just supposed to be a temporary thing to test this one thing, and then they forgot about it, and because they didn't adhere to the naming conventions, it was impossible to identify why it was there, and yeah.
Yeah, that's annoying. Um, so hopefully, if anybody's out there making their own stuff, I mean, that's one little bit of wisdom that we can impart on people.
Absolutely. It's not sexy, it's not
It's
glamorous, but
pretty
it
dang
is
cool. Uh,
extremely valuable. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Sort of like highways.
um, so, and on a more interesting note, I know that we've been talking off stream about your adventures in Metroid Dread,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the adventures are over.
So I deleted the game for a while, as you well know.
Thanks for me to say over, I guess. I mean,
Um, but because I'm a man, and and
I'm not laughing.
I'm not some weak child.
I'm laughing at the measurement of this is how we will measure manhood now.
This
Is
is yeah, yeah. I wasn't gonna let Metroid Dread beat me.
Mhm.
So I re-downloaded it, and I discovered that the little stupid robot things that kill you in one hit were actually just environmental puzzles. The
Mhm.
game really wants you to go in a specific direction at a particular timing to get through it. And I was playing it like it was a stealth game and failing
Oh,
because it's not a stealth game. Then when you go here, use this ability, then when the robot walks in a different direction, deactivate the ability, go over here, right? So it's just a spatial puzzle. And when I figured that out, the by this point I already killed 5 of them, just sort of brute forced my way through it.
mhm.
The sixth one was relatively easy to get through. And then you get to the last one, and it dies in a cutscene. You don't even
Oh my
after all of this like torment from these things, you don't even get the satisfaction of killing the last one.
that's a bummer.
And it's a double bummer because you can go to the pause screen and you can see how many of them you've killed, which
Okay.
leads you to the impression that you are responsible for killing all of these. And while Samus does, in fact, kill all 7 of the little stupid robots, the player only kills 6 of them.
So, did you feel like you were kind of ripped off for not killing that last one? No sense of
In
satisfaction or
a,
something?
in a morbid way, yeah, I was. I hated those things,
Yeah.
and I'm glad I didn't have to fight a 7th one. But I'm
Yeah.
also a little pissed off that I had to fight 6 other ones.
Yeah.
So in any case, that's right at the end of the game. There's like one boss after that, and then you go up to a spaceship and you meet the big bad. And I fought it one time, and he killed me in seconds I mean, I'm not. This isn't hyperbole. He killed me in less than 10 seconds.
Hmm.
And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go explore. Get more energy tanks, get more missiles, just really just And so I did as much of that as I could tolerate. Some of the speed booster puzzles are obnoxious. So I did everything that I was willing to do. And I'm like, okay, before I take on this boss, I don't really feel like memorizing um, every aspect of it. So I'm just going to learn all the characters' patterns so I can go in with as much information as I can. And I watched this video of a guy playing it on normal difficulty level,
Mhm.
doing everything perfectly, and it still took him nearly 10 minutes to beat. In one attempt, it took this boss 10 minutes to beat. And it also looks like an incredibly difficult boss because each hit does almost 200 HP damage, two full energy tanks of damage.
Okay. And then what are you doing to the boss itself? Do you even have a any kind of energy bar to kind of
No,
indicate?
no. They never do
Yeah,
HP bars on enemies. So you
yeah,
really
yeah.
the only way you know you're making progress is that he flashes white when they take damage,
Hmm.
and then his attack pattern changes. Because he's got like 3 phases.
Hmm.
And I watched this video, and I went, I am done with Metroid Prime or Dread. Yeah. Because I know that to get that good at that boss that player was, he had spent hours memorizing the timing on everything, building up the muscle memory on how to reflexively move whenever the enemy
Yeah.
did a particular move, learning all of the tells. I know this because I've done this in Monster Hunter, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
The difference is in Monster Hunter, that's the entire point of the game. It
And
is the
also,
central focus of the experience.
Monster Hunter. I know you're pretty much you have a problem with Monster Hunter. You love Monster Hunter.
I
Like you're
do. I am very biased. I admit I do have an implicit bias here.
yeah. So with Monster Hunter, you're willing to go through the pain points to learn a boss and everything because you enjoy the overall macro aspect of the game.
Right.
Whereas in Metroid, felt to me since you bought it from day one when you bought it, you've always kind of had a love hate relationship sort of with it.
Mostly
And
hate. A little bit of love. Again, when they just let it be Metroid,
yeah,
it's not bad. But they very rarely let it be Metroid.
yeah.
So I just decided that I was done with Metroid Dread. It did ultimately beat me after all. I did get to the final boss, but I decided that it was not worth my time to bang my head against a metaphorical boss wall until I either A, mastered all of its patterns, or B, got lucky. And I have since quit Metroid Dread, and I have not gone back to it. Instead, I was playing Monkey Ball some more.
Oh my gosh, you are.
A
I
glutton
I
for
just
punishment, I guess.
yeah. I don't like. I mean, I even cringe just thinking about that. Like you're gonna play Monkey Ball next, which is oh my gosh, like
I
that's a rough game.
Okay, so in all fairness, I had forgotten how hard that game gets, and I have already stopped playing Monkey Ball.
Oh my
I
gosh,
got
wow.
about I got about 2/3 of the way through it, and then I was skipping more stages than I was finishing, and I'm
Uh-huh.
like, all right, maybe this isn't for me anymore. Um,
The nostalgia's worn off, huh?
the nostalgia wore off. Yeah, the nostalgia goggles wore off. And I do remember, when the game first came out on the GameCube years and years ago. I didn't have the money to buy whatever game I wanted. So when I bought Monkey Ball, we played it constantly, and you got really good at it because
Yeah,
that's what you did.
yeah.
But now going back, I look at some of these stages, going, I know I beat this stage. I have no idea how I beat this stage.
Because all they've done is just remastered it, right? It's
Yeah,
just
it's a remaster where they rebuilt it from the ground up. Instead of using a proprietary engine that was built for the GameCube, they actually just built it in Unity.
oh wow.
Yeah.
And how does it play from what you played to play the same?
The single player experience, it feels like I remember it feeling.
Okay.
There's been some reviews that complain that they got the physics wrong on Monkey Target,
Okay.
which was a really, really popular multiplayer mode back in the day.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I haven't played it, and nor do I think I'm as particular about the play mechanics that I think some reviewers are.
Hmm.
So, be that as it may, I mean, it really is. It's a great package. It was a lot of care was put into making this game a reality.
Hmm.
But I'm just not 20 anymore, and I don't have the time or the patience to get as good as you need to get in this game.
Hmm.
And so I have turned off Monkey Ball. What do these two games have in common, James? What do they have in common?
Um, I don't know. I can only tell you that I have the same commonality with the game I was playing, which is Shovel Knight. So I don't know.
Um,
Oh wait, well I want to hear what this answer is as to what they
I
have.
was drunk when I purchased both of them.
Mm,
I was
I could
not
never guess that.
going to buy either one of them sober when I was sober,
Huh.
but
You were just gonna,
I got hammered.
you were okay. You weren't toasted. You were hammered,
I
and you were
was
like,
yeah. No, yeah, I wasn't toasted. I was hammered. And
oh,
I got home, but it was too early to go to sleep, and that is a bad combination for me. When it's like I'm not ready to go to bed, but I am also really drunk, I always end up buying video games. Like
hey, well,
that is my MO. That is what I do.
that's not a bad aftermath story to have. I
I mean, I
mean, I've
guess there
heard,
could be worse. Like I could wake up the next morning going, I don't know who you are.
yeah, there's a
So,
lot of worse scenarios from that. So, hey, you spend $20, whatever. That's
well,
not bad.
I
Yeah,
mean,
or
Metroid Dread was 60 and
yeah,
Monkey Ball was 40, so it was $100.
yeah, okay.
This was a bit of a spend.
Uh,
Um, yeah, and I bought Metroid Dread, knowing full well that I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna like this game, but I'm
uh,
drunk, so there you go. And then I bought it, and I'm like, oh, but I can't play this for another week. And my drunken purchasing was not satisfied, and Monkey Ball had just come out, and I'm like, I remember liking this game.
yeah.
And that was a huge mistake.
So
um
you're
so
on a
yeah,
quest to find another game to kind of scratch your itch, like Monster Hunter or something. Sounds like.
I always am, and really I just need to wait for Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me. You know, I'm still sitting on Monster Hunter World, and it's funny, like when I read the internets and the inner
Yeah,
tubes and all that
the inner
stuff, and
tubes, yeah.
yeah, a lot of people are really fond about Monster Hunter World. That's the one that people rave about a lot for some reason. I don't know if you've seen that or not, because you
Oh
actually
yeah.
I have it on my PlayStation. I haven't fired up since I played
I
up to the village, and that was it.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the metrics recently, but to date, even after the release of Monster Hunter Rise, Monster Hunter World is still the best-selling Monster Hunter.
Yes, that's where I was kind of getting at. As I've seen like the number of copies sold, Monster Hunter World's the one that's up there right now. I
Yeah,
mean, now for a couple of years now, right? So
yeah, oh yeah. It was out there for a while. For me, I like Monster Hunter Rise more,
uh-huh.
um, partially because I just well, there's a lot of reasons why I like it more than Monster Hunter World, but they do take a lot of some of the best parts of Monster Hunter World and bring that into Monster Hunter Rise. The only part that they maintained for Monster Hunter World that I was not a fan of was the armor system, the more simplified armor system. But it's all right. I mean, it's as far as design complaints concerned, it's a relatively minor one.
Hmm.
But in any case, um, yeah, I mean, excuse me, I liked Monster Hunter World. Don't get me wrong, I like Monster Hunter in general. It just wasn't it just whatever, for whatever reason, some of the more subtle things that they changed in the experience I didn't like. I think the thing that was the most frustrating for me was the way they changed the game maps, where there weren't clear zones and everything was super connected. It was visually very, very cool, very, very cool. But from just a gameplay fundamentals standpoint, it made it a hell of a lot harder to navigate where the monsters were, and then following them around. And their solution to this, while elegant, also completely undermined any sense of discovery. You had these like greenish bugs that once you found enough in map markings like rutting marks and stool and things of that nature, it just automatically started telling you where it was, and you just followed these green bugs, and it took all sense of exploration and discovery out of it, right? So I didn't love those.
Hmm.
And in Monster Hunter Rise, they just dropped that entirely. So
Hmm.
you start a map and you know exactly where the monster is.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. It could get frustrating in old school Monster Hunter, having to like find the monster, and you'd occasionally spot it and see it fly away, and you're like, where did it go to? And there was this maintenance of either you needed to get a skill, um, called Mind's, no, not Mind's Eye. I don't remember. Or you had to use an item called Psycho Serum, or you had to throw a paintball on the monster to mark them.
Hmm.
But you had to take some sort of initiative to be able to track the monster.
Hmm.
And in the concept of hunting, it made sense to me, right? And I also thought it was kind of fun when, like, you're just throwing a paintball on it, and then the paintball wears off, and you're like, oh shit, we lost it, we have to track it more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or someone getting the monster tracking skill again. I don't remember what it is right now. And then like relying on them, like, where is it, right?
Yeah.
And then also too, you start learning the patterns of the monsters. You learn that such and such a monster will only go to these zones, and such a monster will go to this zone after that zone. And it's this very organic knowledge that comes from, I guess, either you reading a wiki, which is, not necessarily a bad thing because it's a part of the community that way,
Yeah.
or you just sort of learn it through osmosis, right?
Hmm.
Because you learn it organically because you're playing the game and you recognize these patterns, and it added it added a level of verisimilitude to the experience, which you lose in particular in Monster Hunter Rise, where you just know where the monsters are at all times.
Uh-huh.
And there is a fictional justification for that. You have a Kahoot, which is
Uh-huh.
an owl, and at the beginning of every mission, you see your character sending the owl off, and what it's ostensibly doing is relaying information back to you about where the monster is, what its movements are, and that's all well and good. I mean, they justify it in the context of the fiction of the game, but I actually liked the hunting aspect of Monster Hunter, right?
Hmm.
And that's been fundamentally removed from the game, along with some other more esoteric game mechanics, right?
Hmm.
But I'm not really the best person to ask. I mean, I do have implicit biases about this, because I learned Monster Hunter back in the days where a lot of these quality of life features didn't
Yeah.
exist. Like,
Hmm.
I remember playing Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate on the 3DS and the Wii U, and learning little tricks like to mine faster, kneel before you mine, because it's a different mining animation and it's a couple of frames faster, right?
That's
And having to put in your inventory pickaxes, because pickaxes broke, and there's old pickaxes, iron pickaxes. Like, I don't remember the names anymore because they removed that so many years ago now. But
mhm.
I don't really mind some of that more finicky micromanaging resources aspects being removed.
Hmm.
But like the two things that they changed is they remove this sense of hunting, like I just finished ranting about, and they simplified the armor mechanic, which is great for new players, right? And I understand why they did that. But from an old curmudgeon like me that's been playing Monster Hunter for over a decade, I was a little bit bummed because it remains to this day my favorite implementation of armor skills.
Hmm.
So, you know, it's a bummer, but it is life.
Hmm.
So I ran it
Well,
for a good 25 minutes, I think, about
well, there's a
about
lot.
that.
There's a lot to unpack there with Metroid Dread,
Yeah.
and then we liked about other monster games. I kind of sometimes this kind of happens, when we're talking, we kind of go in this anti or grumpy mode about some games, and I kind of want to do that with Shovel Knight, but at the same time, I mean, there's I kind of don't want to. I don't want to stay in negative cloud mode too long, but can't help it.
Well,
Um,
I mean, I think it's reasonable. We've talked about Shovel Knights, and your points are absolutely valid. And this is where it gets hard, right? Because if you like something or don't like something, it's not like you are not the final word on any of it. Not you
yeah,
specifically, but just in general.
yeah, yeah.
You're allowed to have a different experience of someone, and your experience is totally valid, right? Um,
I mean, I tried to give Shovel Knight a go today. I was doing the DLC with Plague Knight, the Plague Knight.
the
Um,
bomb one.
yeah, the
Yeah,
bomb guy.
that's Plague Knight.
He's a- What's funny is the game. The what's great about the game, the pros about the game is the characters are terrific. The
Oh, I
design,
love the character design. Yeah.
the art's beautiful. But by end of playing like the first stage of the bomb throwing one, I think it's Plague Knight.
Yeah, that's Plague Knight.
I'm playing the same levels and I have to figure out how to traverse a pit again. And like I was it. I
Mm.
actually this has not happened in years, but I actually rage quit the game again and uninstalled it. That never happens. But that was it. I'm done. I don't even want to play the other ones. I just don't care.
Wow. Wow.
So that's it. I'm done. I checked out on Shovel Knight. I love the visuals.
Yeah.
I don't want to fight gravity bosses anymore. I'm tired of it. I'm just tired of like yeah, you can't you're sitting here trying to upgrade your character and everything else, and all of it's a moot point if all you have to do is figure out how to traverse a pit. Like that's not. There's no fun in that.
Yeah.
There's no. I'm not trying to figure out an enemy or anything. I'm just trying to figure out how to cross a pit. I'm sorry, I've already solved that once through already with Shovel Knight. I have to do it again. New character and his drunken way of jumping. It's like it's not fun at all.
Hmm.
So sadly, that's it. I have to just I guess I'll watch gameplay footage of other people playing it or live vicariously through other people. But I ended up doing it. It's an ultimate sin here, maybe, but I ended up loading up Pokemon Unite,
Oh,
and I'm
the MOBA.
yes, and it brings me back to my DOTA days. It was
Right. Right. Yeah, the Dota days. You
it's
you
great.
played you played the original Dota when it was a Warcraft
Yes.
3 mod.
Yes, and it's not as hardcore as DOTA or DOTA 2, but it's fun, and I'm enjoying it. And nothing but positive things to say about the game so far. It stays within the Pokemon universe. Nothing's too crazy or saying about it. It's just a really fun game. I'm playing it mainly to kind of to catch up to my nephews. They're playing it right now. So
Mm.
when we do end up teaming up or something, then my Snorlax should have enough of a enough XP on him to at least do some damage. I would think. But,
I don't like MOBAs.
did you try playing Dota or League of
I
Legends or was
have
it?
I have given it the old college try,
Mm-hmm.
and it's too competitive. I'm just not
Yeah.
particularly competitive, and it was just way too competitive for me, pure and simple.
Yep. I totally hear you on that. The community can be very toxic as well.
Yeah.
Our word to sift through and everything else. I'm not sure if it's any better now with Dota 2. Because I stopped and when Dota 2 was launched on with Valve. I played for a little bit, but then and then I kind of just stopped. But the community would calm down a little bit by then I don't know if it's calmed back up or not. But
I
Yeah.
can't speak to it one way or the other, and I'm
Yeah.
not even I can't even judge the game critically, right? I didn't play it enough to get a sense of what the experience was. It was just too hard, and I did not want to spend the brain power to get good,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. Hmm.
And so I abandoned it very quickly, and I've never gone back.
So when it comes to games where you compete, like you don't play those normally, like any of those first person shooter type games, like you don't really you don't get into those as much, huh?
Unless there's a co-op mode, no.
Okay.
I'll play Borderlands online.
Uh-huh.
I'll play Diablo online, but those are all co-op experiences.
Hmm.
I have no interest in fact, I'm waiting for because the Diablo 2 remaster just came out.
Hmm.
And so I'm definitely going to get that, but I'm not going to pay full price for it. So I'm waiting for Blizzard to do a sale. They will occasionally do sales. Like they've brought like Diablo 3 down to like its regular price is $60, and they brought it down to like 25 before.
Oh, okay.
So I'm waiting for them to do a sale, and then I'm gonna pick that up because I love Diablo is so mindless. It's a great decompression game, right?
Hmm.
Similar to Mosu games like Fire Emblem Warriors or Dynasty Warriors or any of those
Hmm.
types of games. They're so mindless and easy, um, that you can kind of just turn your brain off,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah. There is a magic to having games where you can shut your brain off and kind of play them passively and sort
mm-hmm,
of not feel so involved with
mm-hmm,
it.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that's where you get that kind of relaxation mode for playing a game for sure. So I hear you on that. But yeah, that's where my mind is now with Pokemon Unite, and the timing for the game is perfect. The matches are only 10 minutes long,
Mm-hmm.
so it never feels much of a time commitment. I can play like 3 matches and I feel pretty good about scratching an itch for playing a game for the day, and then kind of break it up where in those longer sweeping epic type of games, I feel more compelled to stay on for like a half hour longer to play a game. So it's kind of scratching that itch. So now, right now, the 3 games I'm playing are kind of not. I'm not sure how many people play them, but it's Pokemon Go, which is super casual.
Yeah.
Now Pokemon Unite and Ring Fit for on the Switch. Those are
Wow.
my 3 games that I play regularly right now. So it's kind of interesting.
That's great. I admit I haven't picked back up Ring Fit. I'm afraid of hurting my wrist again. Um,
Yeah.
so I need to pick it back up, but now I have a big old couch, so I don't have it quite as easy an access to do it. But I can probably find some room. I just have been too lazy. But yeah, so well, we're at almost 35 minutes.
Cool.
Um, I think it's enough time to wrap things up.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, in general, I mean, if anybody watched this stream, like again, it was a lot of house cleaning, and it
yeah.
kind of looks kind of boring, but you kind of zen out and you start setting up your scenes. So I pretty much set up scenes by just whenever the camera switches to a hard cut, that's where we had new shots. So, anything that kind of leans on, like this is, went from one scene to another scene. So these are all labeled. So I'm kind of just doing that because as I grab assets from back and forth, I already kind of have a home base scene that I kind of grab
Mm,
stuff from sometimes.
that makes
But
sense.
yeah. Anyway, but yeah, let's call it a night.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in, everybody. You can find us at calamityjane.rocks, which will take you to our Patreon site. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube, which presumably is where you're watching this right now. We'll be back next week with more fun, irreverent house cleaning. And until then, stay safe, and we will see you soon. Night, everybody.
Good night.
All right.